Here we go. The Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. Win total 8, over -125. Last year, 7-9 straight up. 6-2 at home. They struggled on the road, 1-7. 8-8 ATS. 8-7-1 to the over. Mainstream stats, 26 takeaways, which was 10th, 20 giveaways, better than league average. +6 turnover margin for a last-place team with a rookie quarterback. You look at these offensive numbers, 5 yards per play, 29th. 4.1 yards per rush, slightly below average. 5.9 yards per pass attempt, 29th. 33 sacks allowed, slightly fewer than average. The problem you had last year was the wide receivers couldn't catch the damn ball. Well, they addressed that in the offseason.
Yeah, they certainly did. I mean, a lot of personnel changes for Philadelphia. But when you're talking about a team that finished in last place, and before they, remember, they went a crazy season for Philly. They started out 3-0, and then they're sitting at 5-9 before they win the last 2 weeks over a pair of playoff teams in the Giants.
Like the Vikings had the bye when they were hot.
Yeah. They beat. We'll talk about that a little bit more when it comes to strength of schedule this year. But they beat some good teams last year. But when you have a +6 margin, you're a last place team with a rookie quarterback. That stands out to me as a stat that you wouldn't expect to see. And they're near the bottom of the league in yards per play on offense, near the bottom of the league in yards per pass attempt, below average rushing. It wasn't a good offense last year by any stretch of the imagination, and yet all the reports on Wentz, and you watched him, he was pretty good. And certainly from the offseason standpoint, what Philly's done in terms of revitalizing that skill position talent, there's some things to like and some things to expect improvement for from Philadelphia offensively in 2017.
Peterson's back as head coach, Reich the OC, Schwartz defensive coordinator. The needs, what they did in the offseason. Barnett, they drafted first round. Jones, a cornerback out of Washington as well. I like this pickup. They took Pumphrey, and here in Mountain West Conference country, he was terrific, the running back at San Diego State. They also, Alshon, I like this. Alshon Jeffery bet on himself. He signed a 1-year deal for $12 million. I think he'll have a big year. They also brought in Torrey Smith. They picked up Blount from the Patriots. Sproles is back as well, so they're deep at the running back position. Also, there was major issues. They were horrible in short yardage because they didn't have you got Matthews who can't run the ball, and Sproles is too small, so they have a good back in Blount with 3rd and short and 3rd and manageable as well to pick up those easy yards or tough yards. Aguilar couldn't catch the ball last year. Matthews had a case of the drops as well, but they have a lot of weapons this year as opposed to last year. It's a lot easier when you're throwing to Smith and Jeffery. Jeffery could be set for a monster year, Teddy.
Sure, and you talked about the continuity in the coaching staff, with Doug Peterson back and with Jim Schwartz back on defense. Frank Reich back as the offense coordinator to me is as big as any of them because it's so key for a young quarterback to learn a system, to learn a terminology, and then not have the rug pulled out from under him. Just ask, Blake Bortles about that. And let's not forget about Philadelphia's special teams and Dave Phipp, the special teams coach. The Eagles' #1 ranked special teams unit last year. Multiple special teams rankers had Philadelphia #1. It made a huge difference in their season. Their coverage was great. Their returns were great. So the fact that Phipp and the special teams, all the top three, the 3 key guys for special teams, all back, kicker, punter, long snapper, is a bonus for Philadelphia. Now, look, it was a conservative offense for Wentz as a rookie last year. His average pass traveled, 7.3 yards in the air. That ranked number 26 in the NFL. And when he did throw deep, he was 24th in QBR, 26th in pass rating. Some of that was dropsies. Some of that was iffy receivers. Some of that was a rookie quarterback learning his way. But, you look at the additions, and, yeah, you get LeGarrette Blount, you get Darren Sproles, you got Jeffery, you got Smith. You have all these big names, guys who've had success elsewhere they're bringing in. It's solid on paper, and the offensive line's solid on paper too, Pauly. Remember, if Lane Johnson doesn't get suspended for another 10 games this year, they could be in very good shape. They were 3-0 when he got knocked out of the lineup last year. Question, can they coax another healthy season at a 35-year-old Jason Peters at left tackle? Pro Football Focus ranks this offensive line #1 in the NFL.
They caught a break, too. Well, it's a good thing they get rid of McKelvin, who was awful last year. I watched a lot of Eagles games. They were throwing exclusively at that guy. He couldn't, he was burnt toast. He was terrible. So those are some moves they made. They also grabbed Chris Long from the Patriots. I mentioned they drafted Barnett as well, so they tried to shore up the defense. What do you think of the schedule?
Well, let's get back to the defense because we never went through Philly's defensive numbers from last year because they were, I mean, the 5.6 yards per play allowed, that's slightly below average. 85.7 opposing QB rating allowed, that's slightly above average. 34 sacks, league average. 4.2 yards per rush allowed, league average. And it's funny, you look at all the stats, league average. Watching this defense, the secondary wasn't good. Jim Schwartz put together a pretty good defense last year. They really did. And you know, certainly they have major issues at cornerback coming into the campaign. You know, McKelvin's gone, Nolan Carroll's gone. That's 28 starts from their secondary last year. They brought in Patrick Robertson. They brought in Dwayne Gratz as new veterans. Gratz has been released already. And then, you know, Harry Roseman, the GM, has spent his second and third round picks on cornerbacks. But the number 2 pick, Sidney Jones, he tore his Achilles during Washington's pro day. They knew that when they drafted him. But it's a real question mark for me how that secondary is going to be put together, even though you like the safeties in Malcolm Jenkins and Rodney McLeod. And I love what they did on the defensive line. They brought in Tim Jernigan at the DL. You talked about Chris Long, the number 1 pick in Derek Barnett. They're 4 deep at defensive end. They're going to have a better pass rush this season than they did a year ago. When it comes to strength of schedule, last year they had the single toughest schedule in the NFL. Just brutal a season ago. And they didn't win any close games, 1-6 in games decided by a touchdown or less. Now, they did not whinge over 4 different playoff teams, Giants, Steelers, Falcons. Didn't they beat the Cowboys as well?
It was week 17. Yeah, week 17.
Yeah, but they were true. But so their schedule this year isn't weak. It's league average, but compared to last year, it is the single biggest drop-off because last year's schedule was so tough. Their schedule much easier in 2017 than it was in 2016. The NFC East faces the AFC West, and the NFC West, their 2 extra games at Carolina and Chicago. Worth noting, they have a rare 3-game road trip. They only, in fact, have 1 home game between November 5th all the way through Christmas. They're at Dallas. They're at Seattle. They're at the Rams. They're at the Giants. And the Seattle and the Rams back-to-back West Coast trip during that span. So if they run out of gas somewhere in November, wouldn't surprise me. That is a very rough end to the season schedule-wise for Philadelphia.
Early lean?
I'm not betting them over. I think the markets have this team priced correctly. To me, 8 is the right number for the Eagles. But if I'm playing them in any way, I would have to play them under the 8. Simply because I got the questions about the secondary, and I don't like even though the schedule is easier, I don't like the way it lays out for them over the back half of the campaign.
Hey guys, for the full video, go to sbrpicks.com.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.